What tennis pros do to win tennis points? I know what you're thinking. You're like, they hit the ball really hard and they're really fast and they have every shot, backhand, slice, overheads, tweeners. They do all these things and they do them all really well. But the number one theme of tennis, and it doesn't really matter what level it is this. Your goal as a tennis player is to take time away from your opponent and to give yourself more time. And the pros just have a lot of weapons at their disposal that allow them to do this. So how could a beginner apply these same principles as the pros? Well, it's about accelerating in one of the areas that we're getting ready to discuss. So if taking away time from your opponent is the most important thing, let's talk about how we do that. And number one is with depth. It may seem obvious, the deeper you hit the ball into the court, the less time your opponent has to set up and hit a good shot back. Right, so like if they're typically playing a foot or two behind the baseline, if they're playing closer, that's even tougher. But if you're hitting the ball deep, let's say several feet off the baseline, it's very hard for them to set up, get the racket back set, and then work through the shot efficiently. And therefore, they're going to typically have to back up, which is then going to give you more time for the incoming ball to reach you and for you to get set up. So hitting with depth is always going to be king, all right? Making sure that you're hitting with efficient depth, and that requires practice. So get out and set up targets, set up cones. You know, if you're blessed to have a court where there's the 60-foot lines, making sure that you're playing the ball past the 60-foot line is going to help you routinely be able to hit the ball deep. All right. Now, that's not the only way to do it. The second way that you're going to do it is also going to be obvious. It's with power. Now, this is the one that everyone gravitates to, right? Like, I really want to hit the ball hard, because if you hit powerful, the faster the ball is moving, the less time there is for your opponent to set up. And this is very true with the serve, right? So on the serve, the reason the serve is the number one weapon in tennis is you have first strike, and if you hit a powerful serve, your opponent's going to have less time to react, and chances are they're going to hit a weak reply. But too often we're trying to do this from the baseline consistently, and unfortunately the game the margins are too small to consistently hit with power. It is a way to do it, but I'm a big fan of learning to hit powerful from position, right? Probably not from the outer third, unless you have your feet set and you have a clear open target to hit in. But definitely if you have the opportunity to take a shot from the middle of the court and get your feet inside the baseline. If you have your feet inside the baseline, you're set up, yeah, blaze that ball. Hit big and take time away from your opponent. Now, number three is all about spin. Now, first we're gonna talk about topspin. Thank Rafa here. If you're hitting this big, heavy, arcing topspin, the idea is that the high net clearance is one, gonna give you pretty good depth, but even if you look at Rafa's ball, not all of his balls land deep, and that's because if it lacks depth, what it makes up for is action, the weight of the ball. So even if the ball falls a little bit short, by the time it hits and it kicks up, a lot of times it's above the opponent's shoulder. That's going to break down their timing, right? It's going to take time away from them, and most players will back up to get the ball to descend. So if the ball is descending, it's going to make it easier. Making them hit up here is really, really tough. What spin also does is it breaks the plane of the court. It plays the ball off at an angle. So it's not just playing through the court, it's playing off the court. So topspin is a wonderful way to take time away. Now, slice kind of does the same thing as well. What I love about slice is you can pull players into the court and then you can push them back off the court. Now with slice, when a slice is hit really well, like a driving slice, it's tough for an opponent to move up and go through the ball, right? So they kind of have to be patient and allow the slice to wear off to some degree for a millisecond, maybe even a second, before they're able to counteract it. So slice is a great way to take time away from your opponent as well. And the fourth and final is positioning. That's right. So if you're playing someone that doesn't have a lot of action on their ball, not a lot of pace, or they're consistently hitting short, getting position inside the court, the closer you are to them, the more time you're going to take away from them because of positioning. I think sometimes when we play weaker players, we think that that's when we just need to be hitting really hard. Oh, I'm more powerful, I'll hit winners. And that's actually how we end up losing these matches. Instead of controlling positioning and taking away time by getting inside the court, we try to swing harder and we make mistakes. So we want to play with positioning. This is the same exact reason forever that players served and volleyed. Right? If I served and I came in behind it, my first volley is going to take a significant amount of time away from you as my opponent. So think about positioning and think about how you can use it to take time away. Taking the ball on the rise, right? Like if you have the timing and the ability to pick the ball up on the rise, think Andre Agassi. It's like no matter what people did, he'd pick the ball up on a dime and redirect it. That takes time away. Now, that brings us all the way back to what we were talking about as far as how the pros win points and how beginners can do it too. And what we're talking about is forcing errors. We obsess over winners, but the key metric, the key stat in all of tennis is unforced errors. It's the same thing. If you hit a winner, you hit an ace, or you make your opponent miss, they're all worth 1 point. And taking time away from your opponent is the #1 way to create an unforced error. So if you're just getting started in the game and you're learning, maybe you've been playing a couple months, focus on one of these areas and think about how you can apply them. And maybe it's two. Maybe it's, you've learned to hit with good depth, and then you've learned to take a step in when you've hit a good shot to improve your positioning. It's exactly what the pros are doing as well. All right, thanks so much for watching. I hope today's tips helped a ton. If they did, leave me some comments. Let me know. If you agree, if you disagree, all good. Let's talk about it. And if you're looking for a buddy to practice tennis, check the link in the comments. It's exactly what Play Your Court does. We'll see you soon.